Hello and welcome to the Dice Tower. I'm Wendy Yi, and today's going to kick off this Top 100 series for me. So I have done a Top 100 list 2 different times. Sometime around 2015, 16, 17, I did my very first Top 100 back when I had a podcast with Chris. And then last year. So I have a little bit of data to pull from, not a ton. But it just is really interesting to see how many of the games moved up, what moved down. A lot of stuff looks like it moved down this year, which is fascinating. Now, in the past, I went ahead and I pulled every single game that I've played, and I've looked through the list, and I've rated them, and kind of moved them around myself to figure out what my top 100 was. This time, I went about it a little differently. I went on PubMeeple, and I took everything from my previous top 100, and then I took all the new games that I played this year, because there's just too many now for me to look at absolutely every single game. And I feel like that really narrowed it down. I did the PubMeeple, and then I absolutely hated it. I was like, nope, this is not right. I don't like this. So I went back through with all of those games that I had pulled, still from my original top 100, and now all the recent games. And then I put them together, and I reorganized them. And so I think, in general, this is what we want. This is what I like. So we're going to go ahead and start with this, and let's begin. Kicking off the list is my number 100. Now, I definitely felt like picking these last 10, like this video's 10 was the hardest, because every game that I had to kick off the list, I was like, it's not on. It's nowhere on my top 100. Whereas all the middle games on my list that are kind of the 40s, 50s, 60s, those, if I moved around, it didn't really matter because I knew I would still get to talk about them. But everything below this 100, I knew I didn't get to talk about, and I couldn't, highlight and be excited about. So the one that barely made it on by the skin of its teeth was Love Letter. Now, in particular, the Batman Love Letter game is what I own, and so it's what I play. The difference between regular Love Letter and Batman Love Letter is that, thematically, for one, you are Batman, or you're playing Batman cards to try to figure out what supervillains other people have in their hands. And so if you guess correctly when you play a Batman and you guess someone's card and they're out, you get a point, as well as getting a point for being able to be the last one standing at the end. So I like it. It just adds a little bit more scoring. You have a few more opportunities to gain those points. But what I really enjoy about Love Letter in general is that it's a game that you can play till whatever amount of points that you've decided as a team will end the game, or you can just play a few rounds and be like, hey, we're done. So in a convention or in a situation like a game night where you have multiple games going on and you need to fill a little bit of that extra time, but you want to be flexible with it, I just think that this game is very flexible in that way. It's also great for an evening where you're like, hey, I want to play something, but I want to play something quick that doesn't take too much brain power, but is still really interesting. And so I just love Batman Love Letter. So that's my number 100. My number 99 is Ink and Gold. Now, this is a fun push your luck game that works for a really big group. So this goes up to like 8 people. And I really love that because it doesn't extend the time too much as you're playing to have a larger group, but it's quick, it's fun, it's got that cool push your luck theme. So in this game, you're explorers and you're diving into this cavern and you're trying to collect as much treasure as possible. And on every turn as you flip over cards, you can decide to stay and keep exploring, or you can choose to leave and grab all the treasure that you can as you exit. And you do have to split all that treasure with whoever leaves with you, so there's that moment of you're like, is everyone gonna leave now? Maybe if everybody leaves, I can dig deeper and I can get a lot more stuff that's just for me. Or if I duck out now, maybe I'll be the only person and I can collect everything that we've discovered so far. So there's some really interesting decisions and balance there, but it's also just fun and easy and light. And if at the end of the day you don't win, it's like, it doesn't matter. So this one actually has been on my list for a while. So originally it was 51 on my list back in, 2000 whatever. But then last year it moved down to 88 and now it's at 99. So maybe if we, I wish that the first time it was at 55. Wouldn't that have been great? 55, 88, 99. Lost opportunity, past self. Goodness, Wendy. Yeah, so Ink and Gold, tons of fun. I'm glad it still made it on my list because this is one I really, really enjoy still. So that is my 99, Ink and Gold. My number 98 is Meadow. Now, this is just a nice nature game about exploring and appreciating nature while you're building this cute little tableau of an ecosystem in front of you. But what I really enjoy about this game is less the theme. The theme is fine and I love it. But what I really enjoy about it is the way that you're selecting these cards for your tableau. So you have these little pointers and they have a number on them. And so, for example, number 4, you place on a grid and you say, I want the 4th card in. And so you choose row or column, you choose left or right, it doesn't matter. But as you're playing, you're deciding where you're going to get the cards and how you're going to get the cards. But also you leave those there, and so you're blocking that spot. So if I take the bottom row, 3 cards from the right, 3 cards moving left from the right, that spot is now taken. So if someone wants something on that row, they have to come from the south or they have to come from the left, to get something on that row. And so it slowly whittles down to making it harder and harder to get cards as the round progresses until it resets and then you get to start all over again. But I really find that an interesting selection as you're building up this fun tableau of trying to get birds to eat worms, and the worms live in the grass, and the grass, is in dirt. Just like those kind of things. I love how it progresses and grows. So it fits its theme really nicely, but mechanically, I just think it's very interesting. Now, this one was also on my list last year, but it was at 92. So it's moved down just a tad, but barely anything. So that is my 98 Meadow. My 97 is Push. Now this one has had a big drop. This was at 34 last year, and so it has definitely dropped down, but that doesn't mean that I like it any less. There's just so many good games that have come out, and I feel like I'm playing games constantly now, so it's very hard to have games stay so high on my top 100 when there's so many good new things out that are just wonderful. So on that side note, Push is just another fun push your luck game. This is apparently the episode of Push Your Luck. So as you are flipping over cards on your turn, you can make 3 stacks. Each one of those stacks has to not repeat a color or a number. If you ever do, you bust and you have to roll a die. You lose everything of whatever color shows up on that die that is in front of you currently, and then everybody else gets to pick through your piles. Now, if you don't bust, you get to choose whichever pile you want, and then continuing on in whatever direction the game is going currently, those people get to collect cards. So this is a game where you get cards and you get to build your piles of stuff on other people's turns, which is absolutely wonderful. But also, you could roll the awful die of terribleness on other people's turns and lose a lot of stuff too. Now there is an option to bank your cards, but it takes your entire turn, so you're like, but giving up the chance to get a huge amount of cards, or am I just saving what I want for now? So there's some really good choices. I think it's light, it's fun, it's something that I play with a group, and I feel like the player count's flexible. It's got a specific player count. I think it's like 4, 5, or 6 people, whatever it is. But you can always add in one extra person. It's okay. You might run out of the deck quicker. It happens, but I really appreciate that it works for a slightly larger group, and that it's fun, it's simple, it's really quick to teach. And in fact, this is one of those games that you can teach the game on your turn. You say, hey, I'm going to start, I'm going to show you how to play as I play my turn, which I think is great for those groups of people that want to just get into something quickly and they don't want a lot of teach and rules and downtime. So that is Push. That is my number 97. My number 96 is So Clover. This is a fun word-based party game. So everyone has a little grid of cards and you're trying to make associations between words so that other people will know how to set the grid. So there's these little square cards that you're putting on this nice little clover leaf. And so you could have the word, shoelace, and you could have the word toga next to each other. And you're thinking, oh, how do I put those together? So you might write tie on it and hope that people make that connection. Oh yeah, shoelace is tie and you have to tie your toga on, whatever. And so they may put those together, but then some other word on one of the other things might be, suit. And so someone would be like, oh, suit goes with tie, tie goes with suit. Which one is it? And so as people are trying to rearrange stuff, they're looking at all your different clues because you have 4 clues and they're trying to associate those words. And I just think that that's fun. I think that it's fun. And what I really appreciate about it is that as you are making your little grids, everybody can do that at the same time. And so just whoever's done first, you say, hey, let's start. And then as people are working on their figuring out their words and figuring out their own grids, they can play and kind of think of stuff. And so there isn't a lot of downtime between turns. If everyone's working on both and they're kind of doing stuff, there's always something for someone to do because you are either having your words figured out or you are figuring out the words. And so I love that it's a fun, quick party game that you can play as many rounds as you want, but also there's not a lot of downtime. So that is my number 6, so Clover. My number 95 is Gutenberg. Now this is another one that has fallen pretty far. It's relatively new to me since being here at the Dice Tower. It was 33 on my list, so it's hopped down a bit. What really got me to play Gutenberg was the upgrades that Tom has. He has these very cute little bottles of ink. So thematically, this game is about printing, like making a printing press, printing stuff. And so you have these really cute printing tiles, you have to collect ink, you have to complete these printing projects. And so what I really love about it is those little vials. And honestly, there's so many games that we have in this Dice Tower library that I haven't played. And so to be able to pull out a Euro and say, I'm going to play this one, that is the reason why I pulled it out. I was going through stuff because that's one of my main roles here, is to go through all the games in the library, make sure things look good, label bags, do whatever. There's a lot of organizing and sorting that I do within these games. And so when I pulled this one out to check for pieces, make sure everything was good, I was like, oh, I have to play this. It's a Euro game that's beautiful and very tactily, like, so wonderful. Those glass jars, I love it. Can I say that I love these upgrades enough? I don't think I've said it enough. So let me say it again. I love the upgrades. As for gameplay, though, I think that it's an absolutely good game. There's tons of awesome stuff in it. The way that you select your actions is kind of unique with the hidden player board. You revealing your actions, and whoever has the most in particular action gets to go first. And so I think that there's some really good choices there, some reading other people and kind of trying to feel out like, ooh, I'm last player, but I get first pick in a lot of things because I have a little bit of extra action selection power. Like there's some good decisions there as well as really nice upgrades. So that is my 95, Gutenberg. My number 94 is Unlock. Now, I really enjoy escape room puzzles. I think that they're a ton of fun. It's just really interesting to see how thematically they can tie these puzzles into a story. And I enjoy the unlock system because it's very clean. You just have this deck of cards, you flip them over, you can reset, you can give it to somebody else at the end when you're done. I really enjoy it. Now, this moved down on my list because I just feel like every time that I play it, I get stuck, which is sad because I enjoy all of it, except for that little bit of part where I don't know what to do next. The hints aren't helping. And so I just kind of like sit there and have to like peek through cards and sometimes cheat a little bit to figure out what's next so that I can move forward. And that's always a little sad, and it's happened more than once in the game. I definitely know that's a me problem, but it does happen. So that is Unlock. It is my number 94. My number 93 is Rise. Now, this is one that's new to me, new this year. And Chris and I forever have joked that we like tracks on tracks on tracks because we tend to like a lot of Euro games that have tracks, right? It's funny because this game is actually just tracks. Like every board that's on the table is different tracks that let you move on other tracks, let you move on other tracks as well. And so there's a lot of fun combos going on with that. But I also really enjoy the action selection in it. As you're moving forward, you can choose whichever card you want to trigger off to have that be the tracks that you move on. But those cards are not inherently better as you move farther along, even though you have to pay more money. However, you do pass all of these little events, and so these events can give you more things. So even though the card itself is not better, you're essentially upgrading your action by paying more coins. Sometimes, however, those events could be negative. So it all depends on what you really want. You're like, which track am I really trying to move up on? What events can I capitalize on the most? But also, I need to spend money and have enough money to pay for the actions and the movements and the bonuses that I'm going to get as I move on tracks. So there's just a lot of different choices and things you're balancing as you're moving on this track that lets you move on that track, that lets you move on this other track, and all that. It's just so good. Love it so much. Rise is a ton of fun. I do wonder how much staying power it has because it has a variable setup, but the variable setup is very binary. You have an A side and a B side. And so I wonder if it's going to be on my list next year or in the future. But for now, it's a game that I really enjoy, and I'm glad that it is my number 93, Rise. My number 92 is another combo-tastic game, and this is Ganchon Clever. It's a roll and write game where you're trying to fill in rows and columns, and as you do so, you get to fill in more rows and columns. Who doesn't love that? This is a game that I've played the physical version of a handful of times, but also I've played the app a ton. And this is just, it's that game that I think of when I think of, hey, what do I love about roll and writes? I love that they are combolicious. What roll and write do I instantly think of with that? It's always Ganchon Clever. So I love this game, love the app. It has filled in many quiet moments for me as I've needed something to do just for a few minutes. And I want to see how high I can get that score. And I love it. I absolutely love it. So that's my number 92, Ganchon Clever. And yes, my friends, I do feel clever. Last on my list for today is my number 91, and this is Five Tribes. Now, Five Tribes has been on my list before. It was in the 70s, then it was in the 30s, now it's 91. So it's done this thing a bit, back and forth. But this is one of those games that I've loved for a long time. It was one of our early hobby games that we played as we were researching and finding our own games after discovering Dominion and Seven Wonders. Will Wheaton's Tabletop came to the rescue, and this is one that we tried and we fell in love with for sure. So I grew up playing Mancala, and this has a Mancala mechanism to it. So you pick up pieces and you drop them off one at a time, and then wherever you land, depending on the color of the meeple, determines what action you're going to take. Now, the version of Mancala I played growing up was not the typical one. I played it with muffin tins and hazelnuts. So my mom, during the Christmas season, when you'd get all those nuts that you could buy from the bulk bin at the store, she would pull out the muffin tins and she would fill them full of hazelnuts, and then we'd play during the holiday season. And then eventually we'd crack them the nuts and eat them, and we'd put away the muffin tins and we'd wait till next year. So it was kind of this nice holiday memory of mine playing this game. And obviously we must have played with some weird rules because there's not enough muffin tin spots as there are holes in a regular Mancala board. But we figured it out and it worked. So playing this game brought back a lot of that love that I have from that game growing up and those nice sweet memories. But also I really enjoy the strategy of this. I enjoy manipulating that board, trying to puzzle out visually how I want to move stuff, because this is one where you don't want to just start picking up stuff and moving it. You really want to think ahead and be able to visualize the paths that you're going to take as you're dropping off those meeples. There's great choices, tons of different ways that you can lean into scoring, which I really enjoy. So at the end of the day, Five Tribes, so glad it's still on my list at my number 91. Thanks for joining me today. This was numbers 100 through 91. I hope that you stay tuned to everyone else's top 100s going on right now, as well as next week for my 90 through 81. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Wendy Yi. I hope you have a fabulous day.